Do what you gotta do.
Okay. Well,
There you go. Take a big drink.
before I start talking, hi everyone.
Hello.
Thank you so much for showing up, participating in this class. This is my very first painting class, but I'm going to try to go really quickly. This is your painting. You're free to do whatever you want. Ray's been free. So Ray's filming this, so I have to keep it professional here. So I'm not going to use an easel, but hopefully all of you guys have easels or somewhere to lean your canvas against. For this painting, we're going to be using 3 different sizes of brush. We're going to be using this large one, something fairly large, and then like a smaller brush for details. And then we have a bunch of tiny brushes for like leaves and branches and things like that. So if at any point, this is like super casual, so if you need to get up and go to the bathroom or go grab more brushes, more water, everything's kind of out there in a really messy way on that table. So if you need anything extra, I try to make sure everybody has what they need at least to get started. But if at any point you need more stuff, just like raise your hand or let me know or something. And feel free to ask questions. So I flip this for a second. Right? I don't think this microphone's working.
You get this one wet.
I got more than enough brushes for like everybody, so we get there. We're gonna figure out what
Take our time.
Okay, sorry, I actually needed paint to paint. So you guys should all have like the primary colors here. And what I tried to show is that basically as long as you have these 5 colors, you can make any color you want out of this paint. So you don't have to stick to the colors that I use. You can do your own thing, but I'm going to try to stick to a pretty solid. So this is what I'm going to be doing in front of you guys. This is the painting that was on the event picture. I did pretty much every time I've done this painting, it's come out a little bit differently. And so I intentionally did more like a nighttime version here. It's kind of cosmic looking. So yeah, feel free to use whatever colors, but I'm going to start, and I'm going to put this up here for people to kind of look at. So I'm going to try to go through like a daytime version and a nighttime version. Okay. So we're going to start with, and I'm going to go back to this when we start mixing paints, which is, actually we'll start mixing our first color right now. So get your white and your blue, and just take a little bit of this blue and a bunch of the white, and then you're going to blend it to make this sort of sky blue type thing. So you'll have that set aside. And then for the outer portion of the canvas, we're going to start with cobalt blue, which is just like pure blue, which is what you guys have on your plates right now. So with your sky blue that's set aside, you're going to go back into your cobalt blue and start painting the outer edge of your canvas. And you're going to make little strokes from the outer edge inwards, kind of like that, feathery strokes. And we're going to do a lot of dry brush technique on this painting, guys. So it's gonna be, you'll see that I have, it's a little bit lighter on my canvas because I mixed in a little bit of white there. But it really doesn't matter. Basically, we're going to be starting with this darker blue out on the edge. If you want to do like a nighttime, like if you want to do the purple version, you're just going to mix in a little bit of red into your blue to make that purple. Okay. So that's up to you. But we're gonna just do all of the outside, and then feel free to like turn your canvas over to make it easier on yourselves. And just get the whole outside. Don't forget to paint around the edges so that you don't have to frame this. It can just sit by itself on your wall and make it look a little bit more artsy. You want to start from the outside and just do inward like feathery strokes like this. And try to do it like quickly. I'm not rushing you, but I speak from experience when I say like the faster and messier you do this part, the better it's going to look. So don't worry too much about your technique or anything like that. Just cover the outside of your canvas in this cobalt blue.
And the bottom part of it too is nice on the easy.
Yeah, so every single side, just all around. Basically, this is going to be like an omnidirectional painting. It's like you're looking up from the ground and you're looking up at the sky. So like when you're done with this, you'll be able to turn it horizontal, vertical, whichever way you want. That's completely up to you. And if you're having trouble getting the paint, like if you have this canvas acne going on where there's like little white spots, then dip your brush in a little bit of water, but don't dip it in too much because then it'll get dirty. So once you've done that all around the outside border, we're gonna blend in a little bit of white into the blue so that it's a shade lighter than what's on the outside. And then we're gonna continue doing it. And so for this second layer, you wanna start, like when we were doing the edge, we started from the outside feathering in. This one, we're gonna start from the inside feathering out. I don't think this works right.
It does.
Okay, sorry. So you're gonna do that like second shade, slightly lighter. And then once you're done with that, and you've gone around the perimeter, you're gonna do another shade lighter and just add a little bit more white. This time, we're gonna start, hey guys, set yourselves up wherever you wanna get them. Okay. Yeah, find a spot wherever you can. So you guys just got here. We're just painting cobalt blue on the outside of our canvas, and we're feathering inwards, and then we're adding in some white, and then feathering outwards. Just like that. Okay, so this layer, and just pretend I did mine all around. You're supposed to just cover the canvas with it, but just for illustrative purposes, I'm just doing one part of it. So you can see here, I mixed a little bit of white into my blue to make this sort of lighter color, and then I also mixed in a little bit of yellow. Just the tiniest bit of yellow, because if you mix in too much, it's going to turn into green. I'm going to turn to this page and just kind of show you guys. So whenever I painted this, I looked at a lot of nature scenes. I looked at a lot of reference photos just like this. And you notice that whenever you're looking at the sky, it's not all one shade. It starts from darker and it goes to light. So that's the basic concept we're working from here. So, and then if you have too much yellow, just paint over it again with another layer of white. And if you're getting these edges, that's kind of making it look a little bit less.
I think Gina might need to pause and take a break.
Yeah, I think so, because we're.
Am I going too fast?
We're all, I've got one edge.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You guys just carry on. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know any y'all's level of familiarity. So if I'm going too fast, please
Low.
just tell me to
Very
stop.
low.
About all I painted is 2 or 3 of these kind of classes.
I'm not bad.
So I'm just continuing to paint my sky here. And just gradually adding in a little bit more and more white as I get to the center.
What was our, we did the outside, now we're doing a little bit of white in there, is that right?
Yeah, so after the cobalt blue goes on the outside, you're adding in a little bit of white, and then a little bit of yellow, and you're feathering out so that it kind of gradually turns into this sort of light sky blue color. So this is kind of what I want it to look like. I'm going to turn it over and just do another side here so to show you guys.
They called the wrong room.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys here for the class, the painting class? Okay. So, yeah, go ahead and find a spot wherever. I see we're starting to add in light.
What were you saying about for the outside edge you want to paint in, right? And then the next layer where it's a little bit lighter you want to paint out? Is that
Yeah, so when you're going into the second layer and then the next layer after that,
The second layer is yellow and white.
yeah, it's just the tiniest bit of yellow, just like a tiny pin drop of yellow, to give it sort of a warmer tone. And then for that layer, I'm going to start on the inside where I've got white here on my canvas, and I'm going to just feather outwards. That way it sort of blends into this existing color that's out here and kind of gives it a gradient sort of thing. So, moving that. See, if I didn't do that and then I just painted on the outside, you'd be able to see, you know, it would be less of a gradient. So we want to always start from the inside and paint outwards and just feather outwards. And it's not a huge deal if you can't. If you have like little spots of white of canvas showing, we're going to go over this again with another layer to do our clouds. This is really this is the base part of the painting, and this is all going to get covered up with trees. So don't stress too much over it. And notice how I'm just dipping my brush into the water a little bit to paint outwards. That helps the paint glide on a little smoother. When you look at like pictures of the sky and stuff, it's not perfect. It's not a perfect gradient. Sometimes it is, but you know, nature is really random for the most part. So if it doesn't look perfectly symmetrical or anything like that, it's probably a good thing. You want imperfection in your sky. So. Make sure your paint stays wet. So that's why we want to get through this part kind of quickly. We're going to give just a few more minutes to finish our. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You guys just got here. You're gonna start out with, so you guys should have these primary colors on your plate. We're gonna start with the blue, and we're gonna dip our large brushes in the blue. We're gonna start at the edge of our canvas, and we're gonna just feather in, just sort of feather inwards from the outside. And you're gonna do that around every edge. And once you've done that on the outside, then the next thing you'll do is add in a little bit of white to the blue, and then start from sort of towards the middle of your canvas and feather outwards like that.
So do we cover the entire border with blue or just
So just the outside, and then ideally once you're gonna keep painting layers until you get into the middle of the painting. So it's gonna be almost like a spiral. You're gonna start from the outside and paint in. Then the next one you're gonna start from the inside and paint out. So the color you want to end up with, guys, in the middle is something that looks like that. It's kind of blue, kind of green, kind of white. It's supposed to be sort of where the brightest point of the sky is. So your blue is gonna sort of bleed into like yellowy white. And then sort of in between, we're gonna have all these other colors. So just kind of make sure your brush doesn't get too like wet or drippy. Kind of keep it dry, feathery strokes, and sort of just work your way to the inside of the canvas. You can see I'm not being super careful with it. I'm just sort of just putting down random strokes, kind of working my way in. Now if this gets tedious and you're like, I just want to be done with this guy already, you start from the inside with the light color. That's sort of a blend of, so it's basically mostly white. This color's mostly white, and it has, you okay? Sorry, flimsy easel. Oh, is it? Just use the one that's next to it.
Okay.
Yeah, just use the one next to it. That one might not be super stable. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna start from the, so what I'm gonna do now is start from the inside and start working my way out like that, because I know that I want this point to be the brightest point of my sky here. So I'm gonna, use that to know, okay, I'm gonna start just blending outwards, and that makes it kind of easy to do. The nice thing about acrylic is it dries quickly, and so guys, whenever and you guys are all using your brushes right now, so this is just for later, but when you're not using your brush, just make sure it stays in your water. That'll keep the brush wet. If you're not careful, the paint will dry on your brush, and then you have to switch to a new brush. Feel free to you try different techniques, see what works for you. I'm doing this one now where I'm kind of like going back and forth, just like that, just going in and out.
Good.
She said she's gonna do more like
Oh. Sorry, what's your question?
I was like, which picture are we filming?
Oh, I mean, so we're trying to duplicate.
That's not a specific one.
Basically, I'm gonna be doing this. This is what I'm doing right now, but I'm showing all of these other images just to show you, like, every single time you do this painting, it's gonna come out just a little bit different, depending on the shades that you use and things like that. And guys, let me know if you have any questions, if you're having difficulties, you need some more assistance. I'm gonna just put my brush down for a second and walk around the room, just in case you have any questions.
As well as the least.
So you got your yellow kind of it's sort of standing on its own.
Yeah.
You want to blend in a little bit of blend in a little bit of white into that and a little bit of blue. So when you're mixing in your yellow tone, you want to mix the yellow into the white and blue and not the other way around. That's
Yeah, 'cause I'm
no, that's perfect. Yeah, okay. That'll help it blend in more of these lighter colors on the side. This one is
Because you need, you know what, Sharon, you got a whole new brush of this.
Yeah, I'm heavy-handed and that's
By the way, we're running a little
You
bit.
know, like, you see the picture
and then start mixing some blue.
That's Oh, yeah, that's 5 months. I thought everyone has 2 months. Okay.
This is next year, I guess. I don't know if there are two of those.
Just kind of share the brushes. I know.
Do you want else to get some water or? No, good? Alright. If your water gets really dirty, let me know, I can look up with that.
Oh, that one.
Is anybody else running low on liquid money for that?
Yeah, definitely.
We're gonna cover the canvas, right?
Yes. Yeah, but you're gonna start when you get to the middle here. It's gonna be almost all nice white. Yeah. So
Anybody else?
you guys are.
No, we're good.
Yes, excuse me.
I was like, I told everyone there's something out there. Like the fact that like you do
No, I do figure maybe. Yeah.
Yes, it's a little bit more.
Okay, I did the same.
I keep it on there. Would that help my arm not fall off?
No,
just do it.
You guys stay on colors?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I'm sure. What you drinking?
Pinot Grigio
Oh.
out of a plastic wine glass. So I don't mess anything up.
Hey, at least it's a wine glass. You can just drink it out of the bottle.
That would be hard. That's a pretty big bottle.
It's very
That would
different
be-
bottles.
That would be kind of a spectacle. I don't think I'd be able to teach paying after that bottle.
What did it say? Drink the whole bottle. So.
It might make me a better instructor. I don't know. There's only one way to find out.
You should do like a Kickstarter where you reach a certain level and you do things in class.
Bring like one of those breathalyzers
Yeah.
and hit a certain dollar amount to get a certain alcohol BAC.
Be like drunk history.
That's a good idea. Maybe next time. So, oops. So I showed most folks this, but so again, I want to say the color you want to end up with looks a little bit like basically this, just a little bit of white, a little bit of blue into a bunch of white, and a little bit of yellow. So it makes kind of this almost like you can't really tell. It's just sort of this old antique-looking white. So I'm going to take that, and once I'm ready to do my cloud layer, some of you guys might be here yet, most of you are still doing your sky, but I'm going to use a really, really dry brush technique here. And so once you guys are ready to do your cloud layer, I'm going to dab it a couple of times on the towel so that it's super dry, there's barely any paint on it, and then I'm just going to start putting in clouds like this. So they're just going to be kind of like feathery, sort of, see how I'm just, basically I'm like punching my canvas with my brush to make these clouds. And I'm going to sort of put them in random places. There's going to be more on the in the center of the canvas, and there's going to be a little bit less of it on the outside. So guys, don't be afraid to, some of you guys' canvases are like super dry. Don't be afraid to put a little bit, mix in a little bit of water to help your paint flow a little bit better. So I just barely dip my brush in water, and it's just making my paint go a longer way. I'm getting a lot more out of my paint. And some of you guys have like really dark blue on your canvas. So you want to make sure, just whenever you start doing your clouds and stuff, you want to make sure to cover a lot of that blue with the white of your clouds, because once we start putting in trees and stuff, they're not going to show up if the blue is way too dark blue. If that makes sense.
So should the middle part be light or dark? The very middle of our
The very middle of the canvas should be almost white.
Okay.
So see how mine is like, it kind of looks hazy over here. And it's super, I don't know, random. What? Oh, I'm so sorry. I guess I just don't like this microphone. Is anybody like tuning into this live stream? Is anybody actually watching it?
Put your number.
Someone took blue away. Oh, you better take it.
What?
Oh, yeah.
I'll look for it. It was a boy.
That's
You guys remembered everybody?
wouldn't that just give random people on the internet my number?
Oh yeah, that never ends well.
No, don't do it. Don't listen to it.
Ray does, you know.
Ray does it like every week.
Ray, he ain't free.
Okay, then give out raise. There you
Is everyone okay in blue?
Oh, wait, no, I don't.
Anybody listening?
So pretty much once you're done with your sky, you're not gonna need that much more blue at all. Like this is basically covering our whole canvas in blue. This is just the first part, and then everything else is gonna be using different colors. So don't sweat it if you're done with this part and you're totally out of blue. It's fine. Okay, so for you guys who are doing your clouds, just remember feather strokes, really dry brush. Like it's gonna make my brush look super ugly, but I'm basically just punching my canvas in with this color. And if you don't want to have too much paint on your brush whenever you're doing it, because I'll show you. If I have way too much paint, it just my clouds look way too not very cloud-like. So that's why I just want to have. And if this happens, then just like punch it a bunch of more times, just feather it, and that'll sort of break it up and distribute that paint. Does anybody have any questions?
Where all we put the clouds? We'll share little pictures up there. Just, oh, there it is.
Yeah, this is just for you to look at to sort of see like, okay, what does nature look like? And in most of these pictures, there's not a lot of visible clouds, but I mean, in my version of the painting that I'm doing, like it's just really cloudy. So you don't have to do clouds at all. In fact, like you don't have to at all, but I chose to do mine because I started out with a really dark blue for my sky, and I needed to balance it out, so I just put a bunch of clouds down. And you can, to answer your question of where do we put the clouds, like you can put it wherever you want. I mean, I'm gonna put mine everywhere, but you know, it just depends what you want the weather to be, I guess. So basically, I'm just keeping my brush super dry and punching in my canvas to put the clouds down. And I'm just putting mine randomly. Whenever I did my sky, I already did a lot of, it almost looks like clouds already, so this is almost just like a second layer of different clouds. If that makes sense. So, like once you're at this point, you're pretty much ready to move on. And I know a lot of people are still doing their sky, but I'm gonna move on to the next part, and you guys can catch up. And I'll go over it a couple more times for folks who are still catching up. So don't worry about it. So for this next part, we're gonna put down our trees. So in these photos, you can kind of see the branches are in the foreground and the tree cover is sort of behind it because you're looking up at it. And so the layer, like if you think of it as layers, the branches are in front of the leaves. So we're gonna put our leaves down first, and then we're gonna work on actual trees and branch shapes afterwards. So in order to get the green that I'm going to need for the trees, I'm gonna take my yellow and I'm just gonna mix a bunch of blue into it to get this sort of deep green color.
We need to save any yellow as yellow.
Yeah. So you can make all your yellow into green at this point if you want. And if you do want yellow, like you want variations in your leaves, you can mix one little batch of green right here, and then you can just, start on another batch sort of on the side and just mix in a little bit more yellow that gives you a slightly more like yellow green. And then you can go again with another part of the plate and just mix in even more yellow. And so you have this nice sort of palette to work with that kind of goes from green to yellow. And what I'll even do is I'll go back and mix a bunch of yellow into my blue, and then I'll get this pretty teal color because it's mostly blue with just a hint of yellow, and that makes teal. So I'm going to go back to this other, just to give you a reference. This is sort of, I put this together as a guide to help you know how, like, what exactly to mix to get different colors that we're going to be working with. So now on my plate I have teal, yellow, and
I just wanted to prove to you it didn't work.
I put this together. Are you guide to help you know how, like, is this
It's got a slight
going
delay.
right? Oh, okay. There's a lag. Okay. My back is turned. I'm gonna try not to have my back turned.
Okay, so what colors are we mixing to make the tree? Just the
So I totally mixed them already, but you're gonna start with your yellow and then mix a bunch of it into your blue, and then that gives you a sort of a teal color. And then if you mix in even more yellow, it gives you a green, and then mix in a little bit more yellow, and it gives you a yellow green. So. Yeah, just a second. Ray, I don't like this microphone. Yes, that's perfect. So that's your teal. And then do another batch just on the side right here and mix in even more yellow. So the teal we have on the brush already, yeah, go ahead and just mix that in. So that gives you a nice green. And then on the side right here, you're going to mix in more yellow, just like you have already. See how that gives you even more yellowy. So that gives you a little bit of palette to work with. Yeah, perfect.
okay. And then how do we make the leaves?
So, okay, so I'll get to that part.
Okay.
You're sitting there laying.
Okay, so did you guys mix your greens for those who are ready to move on to that part? Ray, I don't like this I don't like this microphone at all. I don't like it.
I'm sorry.
Can you untable it for me now? Thank you.
Me and not listening. We'll get him boom mic next time.
That would be good. I just don't like that. I was like walking over to help them, and then I was tethered,
Yeah, I know. I'm distracting you by harassing you with the microphone. And now everyone has an interesting sound effect of change. They're like, what's happening?
So you can use this same brush for the leaves, this sort of big brush we've been using. But I'm gonna graduate to a smaller brush for a little bit more control, and you guys can do that as well.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna really do either or. So now that I've got my greens mixed in, I'm just gonna start with my lightest sort of yellowy green, and I'm gonna sort of make little dots, kind of like that, around the canvas. And we're gonna
We're doing
start
it all the way around?
all the way around, and don't make them even. Like this part is kind of tricky, guys. I'm gonna go back to these reference images here. You see how in these pictures and these photos, the leaves that you see, they're all clustered and they're random. They're not uniform. Because nature is not uniform most of the time. It's very Brandon. So it's really gonna be like resist the urge to make your little dots all uniform and neat and orderly.
Leaves or are these like
These are the leaves. Well, yes. So this is sort of the tree cover. This is what's gonna go.
They're just round dots.
Basically, they're just little, just blotches like that. So I'm just sort of dabbing them in random places. And you're not gonna want to. You're gonna want to leave a space in the middle. And see how I've sort of done this in pretty much like the four corners of my canvas. I'm gonna switch to a different color now, and I'm gonna do like a little bit of a darker green, like the more deep green that I have, and I'm just gonna go over it with the deeper green like that, and sort of distribute that color.
Over the same dots?
Yeah, just sort of next to them,
Okay.
kind of like. So it's almost like it's a bunch of leaves, and some of them are lighter, some of them are darker colored. And don't worry if like some of your, other colors kind of sneak in. That just kind of adds to the nature look of it. Really. I'm trying to like hold it up while I paint. It's hard, so everybody can see what I'm doing. Resist the urge to do too much of this as well. Like I'm about to stop here I'm gonna do a little bit more and then I'm gonna stop because what we're gonna do after this is put down our branches and then we're gonna do more leaves on top of that. So this is really just your backdrop. So you don't want to like cover your whole canvas with this because then you won't be able to see the branches. So I just did like yellowy green and green and now I'm going to do a little bit of teal as well. I'm going to switch to my larger brush because there's already teal on it. And like feel free to make different colors. Make slight variations of your colors. Be super random. Because nature is random. So, I'm doing different sizes. I'm not worried about the dabs that I'm making on my canvas to be all the same sort of proportions because you can just say they're different types of trees and they're different sizes of leaves and things like that. It's all open to interpretation. So it's whatever you want it to be. So in some places, I'm going to cluster them a little bit more. And then others, like, you'll be able to basically all you'll see is the sky. Because there's almost no leaves in that part. And then another thing you want to kind of do a little bit more on the outer edges of the canvas and make it a little more sparse towards the inside. Because you want to leave this big wide gap in the middle where you can still see the sky and there's no coverage anywhere. Because that's where your bird is going to go. You guys want to paint a bird on it. You put a bird on it. And then, for those of you who care, and you might not, don't forget to put a little bit on the edges of the canvas, on the outside. If you want to be a sort of more art gallery look, you want your painting to kind of bleed off of the edge of your, on the outside edge, so you can still kind of see the continuation of that painting on the outside. Am I going too fast, or does anybody have any other questions? I feel like this is a good time to walk around again. Ray, is anybody actually watching this live stream? Yeah. You know, people that tune in.
It's gonna be on YouTube later. So even if people don't watch it, they can watch it later.
I love it. I love how everybody's is just ever so slightly different.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're not watching it right now. They'll watch it. They can watch it later. So,
So, the main reason I want to put all these up to show folks is just in case any of them would inspire somebody to kind of do something outside the box. I don't know. These are just different variations of what's basically the same thing, different times of day, different weather, and things like that. And something I noticed in this middle picture, the tops of the trees kind of come together to make a heart shape. I don't know if anybody noticed that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nature's crazy.
I don't know if that's nature or Photoshop, but if that's natural, that's really, really cool. That's a really good photo op.
It's all about camera angles.
Yeah. That's the only way that it looks like a heart.
It looks like
You're like, there's no way that would actually happen in nature, but you never know.
good for you. Yeah.
Okay. I said I was going to stop painting these, but I'm just painting more. Okay. Hi. Oh, you guys are touring. Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to give you guys time. You guys are fine. Okay, this is a interlude. Because once you guys get done with this part, you're going to want a little bit of a break to let your canvases dry before doing the next part. So feel free to keep on painting if you guys aren't done with this part. Or if you're done, feel free to walk around, take a drink, do whatever you want. Okay, so it's 7:51 right now. At around 8, we're gonna start doing branches, which is gonna be possibly the most time-consuming part of our painting. So you guys have until 8 to get to that point. And so I'm gonna walk around and help anybody who's still having some trouble. I love that you added in red. That's a good, nice little variation.
Always the way.
Oh wow, you're still working your house.
Yeah,
Good though.
a little too good.
What if I
Do you paint very much?
What?
Do you paint very much?
You mean like, am I a painter?
Have you done this? Is this your first time?
I've done 3 or 4 classes like this, where it's kind of like group painting and stuff.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
White. We have white, blue, and blue. You do white. Hey.
You're into colors.
I got a little extra blue.
Did you need any more British?
Yes, I
Oh,
Like super down the blue.
I mean, the green is just that part, or you can do it all over, or are you still tree stuff.
When I wiped out the tops,
Yeah.
put the leaves in. I need a nail finish. Then after she saw I was married, she said, "That's wonderful." I'm like, "Yeah, lady." Too late. And then they help her. They help her. It's terrible. I mean, I just got a big brush. Got the blow dryer. That's probably one of those. She probably wanted to say, "You never been."
Yeah, but, yeah, a little bit too much fun for me.
Victoria loves this. Robert the better.
She leaves. I'm a horrible director. I don't know where my actress is going.
Just pull up the canvas and start painting.
I was going to, but I already missed like 45 minutes, so kind of.
So I just did get rate of
I think you can catch up.
generally.
I'm fast enough to. I'll just do it at home. Most of half the great paintbrushes you are using are mine. Anyway.
Thanks.
Don't be afraid to cluster it a little bit, and don't add in too much.
Fun presents and branches. A smaller one, just dab it. Dab it.
Branches.
So, how did y'all hear about this on Facebook or?
I'm a member here.
Or member?
So yeah, I got the meetup email and I flipped through the events calendar.
And here's my inside connection.
I like the purple.
Oh, good, it's getting good over your back.
No, it looks festive. It's like nature is celebrating. It's like confetti.
Nature was a little confused this day.
We only had 22 people show up, unfortunately. But
You know, there
it's a
might
good
be.
thing because we were running low on paint.
We were really low on paint and space, so
Yeah,
I just feel
space
bad.
and paint was
They-
the best. So if we do this again, 25 was probably the max.
And you don't need anybody but us guys. I can take it on.
Well, this is fundraising, so it's kind of
Oh, cool.
What I'm
Oh, yeah, that's
really
right.
thinking is the folks that, because I had a couple people go, I really want to show up. I'm not 100% sure, but in case they do show up, I want to lock in a space.
yeah.
So they paid.
Yay!
You
And
know,
now they're not
so,
using any materials.
so I'm thinking I'm just gonna roll call, around towards the end, and then the folks that paid but they couldn't make it, like if we do this again, I'll just let them in for free. So that's what I was thinking how I would handle
Or you can tell them that thank you for being charitable.
it.
But no, it's fine.
I'm never doing this again. No.
No?
No.
Oh!
No, I'm just kidding.
But it was so much fun setting it up for 2 hours and still not being done.
You know what? It was a lesson for next time.
Oh.
We're gonna know exactly what to do and what to bring.
It won't help.
Because I never thought about the easels thing. Because when I paint at home, I have it in my lap and I'm just sort of like nursing it, you know. And I didn't think about the fact that people would want a nice sturdy, you know,
Yeah.
easel to paint on. So
Alright.
just lessons for next time. I'm not one of those professional like, you know, paint night or painting with a twist kind of businesses. I have no idea what I'm doing. So
I think you're doing fine. You're doing fine. I usually teach. I taught the water class randomly to everybody that came in. So this is running smoother than that.
that one was more casual though. This one's like paced, like I have to
Very true.
be on task.
Thank y'all for coming, by the way.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
The environment appreciates it. I'm doing special effects.
So do we
Camera.
have more water? I can switch out my water.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You have to
Okay,
pay
so
$10,000 for water.
You may wanna you
Here,
may
yeah.
Ignoring me.
You got it one here.
oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, so for folks who their water's getting dirty and they need to switch out their water, just ask Raymond. He'll take care of you.
Oh, here. You just gave me a new one over there.
Okay, so it's about 8. I'm gonna start. Give me a minute. I gotta pull myself in class.
It's a sunflower. But get you to be able to do it.
Okay, y'all, we're gonna do branches. Are you guys ready for this? Yeah, the rest of us are. Still need more time?
Pretty intense.
Okay, like I said, guys, you want to be really scarce with your foliage. So I looked at most of y'all's paintings. You have a good amount of foliage there. You can stop for now and move on to this, and then go back to the foliage if you want afterwards. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna mix our. Just make sure you're. We're gonna graduate to our smaller brush. You're either gonna use this sort of smaller brush if you have one, or the really tiny brush. But to mix the paint, we're gonna use the larger brush just because it's better at mixing paint. So wash off your big brush, just like wash it in your cup. You can. And then dry it up on your towel that you have. And we're gonna mix in our tree trunk color. And I put these pictures up just to kind of show you, like, branches are super random. And I'm gonna show you 2 different techniques for painting tree branches. And then once you get those 2 techniques down, you can do whatever you want in terms of shape or number or thickness or whatever. The options are pretty much limitless. So to mix the color, we're going to start with our yellow, and if you have like this sort of yellowy green, that works too. I'm just going to mix in a little bit of red into it.
What was the first color? I'm so sorry.
Yellow.
Ooh,
And you're going to mix in red into your yellow. If you don't have yellow or you need some more, there's some more up there. I don't know where Raymond went. I will just raise your hand. Just raise your hand if you need yellow, and I'll come by and get you some. Anybody need yellow? Raise your hand. Anybody need yellow? Here you go.
Is that yellow you got? Yeah. Oh.
Anyone else need some yellow? Need some yellow?
What's the ratio of red to yellow?
You're gonna mix in a little bit of red into your yellow. So it's gonna be 2 parts yellow and 1 part red. So you're gonna end up with orange. But it really doesn't matter because we're gonna mix a bunch of black into it. So our black is gonna come into play.
Okay.
So we're gonna make this sort of creepy looking brown.
So I can put some black on there?
But don't put a ton. Like that's perfect.
Oh.
Yeah, that's perfect. You're good, you're good. Anyone else need yellow? Raise your hand. Okay, we're all good. Okay, so I mixed in some red into my yellow and I have this orangey color. Now I'm going to take some black and I'm going to mix that in. And that's going to make it look super ugly, but this is my brown. Just a dab. So I just ever so slightly dipped my brush in black. Black is like a really powerful acrylic color. It just covers everything. So you use the like tiniest pinpoint of black and it just drowns out every other color you have. So if you mix in too much black, just go ahead and mix some yellow back in, mix some red back in. And you're gonna end up with this very sludgy looking brown.
I'm already halfway there. Okay.
So
How much of that do we need?
we need just a dab. So I'm gonna do this again, and I'm just gonna walk around the room and show folks. What's up?
How do I make this more brown?
Adding yellow and a little bit of red. Yeah, I'm just gonna go around the room. And I'm gonna put.
Sound effect for the
I'm gonna go back to
entertainment.
this. So I'm starting with yellow. You're good. You're good. Yeah. So you want kind of a darker. This is perfect for your highlights, but you want to mix in just a slight amount more black, just a tiny bit. So I'm going to start with yellow, and I'm putting red in to make it orange. And notice that I only need a tiny little bit of red. Just like making it super.
You gonna make it orange now too?
Well, no, I'm just showing you how I got to the
Now it's all gonna dry.
Yes, that's perfect. So, yeah, so I got this. If you want to make it less green and a little bit more warmer tint, add in a little bit of red. So that should get into the so I got this orange here, and this is what I'm going to add a little bit of black. And that's going to start being super brown, olive almost. And notice how much black I use.
Two shades of color.
So how are we want? You want dark red
And
and
then
black?
putting in more red. And then now I've got this sort of like sludgy brown. And I got like a lighter shade over here and a darker shade right here. And the difference is black. That's just how much black. Yeah, let's start with there.
I'm good.
So I started with yellow, and I basically added just a little bit of red, a little bit, and then this is the color. And you want a lighter shade like this, and then you want kind of on the side, mix in a little bit of darker shade.
Sorry. How's that?
What we're gonna do, guys, we're gonna start with our darker browns, and then we're gonna put in highlights for the pictures. Okay. Oh, you got some storm clouds going here. It's like bright and sunny, and then there's the storm.
Nice job. You're used to it, everybody else.
And it's all interpretive, you know, so everybody's painting is going to turn out a little bit differently. And yours may end up looking totally. There's always like one person in the class that just does something completely off. Like they're not even, you know, with the rest of the group. They just do something. They do completely their own thing, and it's just, you know. So you can do.
Oh,
I mean, you said you've done this before, right? Like in the past.
because I don't want it to
Acrylics are kind of
burn.
like
I don't want it to
faster
burn.
travel. They're like you can act like
Arguing
water,
around
or
it, right?
you can act like watercolor depending on how much water you have. So
As long as you're
it's
topping
really
on your shoes.
they're fun to work with. It dries super fast. It's like rapid drying. If you're not using it in water,
You're like a little things that are shooting out of your
Yeah, I got the right color.
And there's like
I was like, my mom was inspired.
So you're taking some
My
pictures
mom
there?
was
Why are
right.
you learning?
Every single time I look out,
Did you make me look
any
skinny?
time,
Take a picture of
oh, I
me.
want to paint something.
Oh, good.
Yours for yours on insurance. Big tree.
Yeah, some behind the ear,
Okay, so y'all, I think most of you have your browns mixed in. We're gonna actually start painting our branches. So I'm gonna turn back to this reference picture that you can use just to show you guys like how many different ways branches are structured. I mean, the options really are endless. So I'm gonna start. So you can use whatever brush you want. I always am of the opinion that like depending on what technique you use, you can use any size brush and just use like one single brush for the whole painting and end up with like a masterpiece. Like you don't need all the different sizes of brushes. It's just completely up to you, like how you want to work. But I am going to start with this sort of medium brush, and then once I get into the smaller details, I'm going to use the tiny brush. So if anybody needs a tiny brush, we have a lot of them up there on the table. Feel free to help yourselves. Those are for all of you guys. So I'm going to dip my brush in some water, and then basically 2 techniques for painting branches. I'm going to cover it with this color. You always want to start from the thicker part of the branch and go inwards. So get lighter and thinner as you go up. Start thicker and end up thinner. And then when you want to do an offshoot of the branch, like make another branch that comes off of that branch, you always want to start from the bottom and work your way upwards. You never want to start out here and come in, unless you got like a really fine point brush, which I'm going to show you here in just a second. But for the most part, generally, you want to do your branches sort of outward and in. Try not to do super straight lines, because branches are super random, and they usually, in nature, you don't see branches sticking straight out at a perfect like 90-degree angle or anything like that. They're very, they go in every which direction. They don't care, so they're just gonna do whatever they want.
So quick question, if we wanna, then we're gonna pull them in, so we would kind of start straight out from the, and working like that. If we wanna go like that.
yes.
Like I like that picture there.
So going back to the going back to the reference pictures, you see in most of these, some of these are taken, from a lower angle, so you can basically see like the trunks of the trees start out really fat. They're like a huge tree trunk that comes off, and then it tapers super quickly into this fine point. So if I wanted to do something like that, I would start out like, be bold, like don't be afraid. This is gonna be a little bit like the most sort of painstaking part of your painting, but seriously, don't be afraid because there's always a way to fix it. It's acrylic, so. So I'm gonna just do one example where there's like, you can see the tree trunk that basically starts off like really thick. And I'm gonna start off really thick on the outside edge of my painting. So see how like wide that is? And I'm gonna taper it. And if you don't want big old tree trunks in your painting, you just ignore this part, guys. But this is just for the folks who want to see. And so it tapers super quickly off into a point. And then once it does, and then make sure it's not a super straight line. You know, that's the most important part, because that's the way like you'll make your trees look kind of artificial, as if it's a straight line. You want it to be imperfect because nature is imperfect. So I basically made mine, like it goes in a certain direction at a certain angle, kind of up to a point, and then once it hits this sort of point, there's like a little joint there, like a knot, and then it changes direction ever so slightly and kind of goes out like that. And notice that I'm going thinner and thinner as I'm going outwards. So there's my trunk, and now there's going to be branches that kind of shoot outwards from it. And like I said, you always want to start from the base to go outwards. You don't want to start out here and try to do a branch that goes down here. I mean, you can do that, but so the second technique I said I was going to show you guys is that once you start getting into this, you're going to want to work a little bit more quickly as you go along. So, you know, say you're thinking, oh, I want a branch kind of over here, and I want it to, you know, basically feed out from this trunk right here. So you get your brush, and I'm going to switch to my tiny brush for this one, covered in paint in your brown. And I'm going to start out here, and I'm going to say, like, I want this branch to go into this trunk. So I'm going to start like ever so slightly, barely touching my canvas, very light. And then I'm going to press in even harder and harder as I go towards the trunk. And that makes your branch, you know, kind of go in the direction you want it to. You don't want your branches getting like thicker as they go outwards, because that just doesn't look good at all. You want them to always be, because in nature you see that the trees, they start thicker at the base and they always get skinnier as they go outwards. So that's just a general rule. As long as you can follow that general rule and remember to be random with your branches, your trees will look great. So these pictures are for you to just, you know, have as a reference. Sometimes it's kind of hard to know how many branches exactly to have. It's like for a lot of people have these A-type personalities that they're just like, just tell me exactly what to do. Just tell me like step 1, step 2, step 3, and just let me do it. And I don't work like that. It's much more interpretive with me. So sorry.
Type A, you just add a lot.
I'll try to accommodate as much type A-ness as I can, but there's a certain
Just tell
limit.
type A's they won. They won, whatever the competition was.
Type A's can just follow my painting verbatim, and you know, they can just replicate it. But I think it's more fun when you do a little bit of your own thing, because then it's like random every time, and nature is random. Are most of you guys still following me, or have I completely lost the room?
We lost the other hour.
So here's a few common like kind of pitfalls that in the past I've run into when painting branches. Because like most of the time I look at a reference picture like this to give me an idea of what what it looks like in nature. I'm big into that. Like I look at so many reference photos before I actually try to do something on my own. I'm not one of those people that can just like work from imagination purely. It's not really a talent I have. So
It's always best to use reference
until it hits a point where it's just second nature. You have it memorized in a way. But I'm definitely not there yet. So you want your branches to kind of all be pointing in the same general direction, like towards the center. If you want to do
Gina, can we switch?
Girl, that is wow.
you know what might help? I'm gonna go around and kind of show people like stuff that I've done because I did several versions of this before I decided to teach this class.
Oh wow.
Like you don't have to go all around the canvas. Like in this version, I basically chose to not go all the way around the canvas. I was like, no, I kind of like it better like this, and I stopped. I was gonna have like pretty much like trees and branches kind of at all corners, but I just decided to stop. Yeah, we're gonna do our birds next, so you have to get through our branches and then we're gonna move on to wildlife.
Are we gonna put more leaves on top of these branches?
I can
Yes,
keep drawing.
but that is 100% optional.
No. I'm like, this is different.
So you can do any variation you want. It's just completely what it feels right for you. So I was telling them I decided not to go all the way around the perimeter on this one. It's more like kind of looking up at the tops of the trees rather than looking up the different perspectives. So I just went around and showed people like the branches that I did, just the general technique that I used. Like it's sort of like crooked, and not all trees are like this. So if yours don't look like this, it's totally fine. It's just different. Okay. Just different variations in shades, color, shade.
Is that right?
Hey everybody, I just wanted to show like she made a heart shape out of her beads, and she wrote her signature, her initials, with using the tree branch shapes that she painted in. I think that's awesome. Like that's so cool. I never would have thought.
Wow.
That's really
Chris is definitely here.
Don't forget to sign your name, guys. You can put your name initials on the side. I'll remind you all to do that after. That looks like Spanish moss. That couldn't be that. No, it looks
Totally the
awesome.
opposite of what
Going for like a more realism kind of effect. I'm just gonna
It's
stop
the joke.
Y'all's meetings are great. I don't know if it's you guys showed up first. You guys showed up early. That's why you got the most time to do this. Like you're gonna learn. I love that. I like that you went for a slightly lighter color for branches. That's gonna make it really easy later on when you paint the house. Like everything will be brighter and more visible. Awesome. So, do you? Why does my clock still say 6:23? That's not right.
Is the bird the last part?
It is the last part. I'm gonna give this until I'm gonna give you guys about 3 more minutes, and then I'm gonna do highlights on the tree branches. How's it going, Raven? If I don't have the mic on, can they still hear me on the screen?
What's up for whenever anyone's talking, this is going up. So if I talk, blah blah blah.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool.
So I don't know if it's catching since you're not wearing it, but I think it's probably just as well. So since you don't like it, I'm not gonna force you anymore.
Sorry.
We gotta respect the talent.
I'm way too nervous to stay in one spot. Like, I have to move around or else I can't.
Yeah, we'll just do something like maybe hang a wire next time or something from above. But we'll figure it out.
Cheryl got the heart one.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Dirty water.
If your paint is getting too dry, guys, and it's starting to like stick to the plate, just mix in some water and that'll revive it a little bit.
Trees.
Does anyone have any objections to music?
No, it depends on the music. Depends on what it is, though.
It's fairly friendly. Raymond, can I play music?
I have to shut this off.
I mean, do you really think it's gonna be a thing?
It'll get like it can get like a YouTube takedown notice. So
Just play it backwards.
if you are you done teaching?
No, I'm not.
Then you know
Yeah. That's all called video. You can see
we can't even sing happy birthday probably.
like a little child.
Why?
Because YouTube.
If you want to buy the rights to all the music that you want to play,
No, I think they reversed that.
No, they didn't.
There's some people that make music videos of stuff they like, and they splice their favorite anime or something, and they like put it to a song, and they put it up on YouTube, and they get it taken down because you know the artist owns the rights to the song, and they have a copyright on it or something.
I was filming something in my truck one time.
I think I'd just be happy with playing with
The music that was playing
I
was
know.
very immediate.
Yeah. And you know, in those paint classes, they always have like some fun music for everybody, especially since it's BYOB, you know, like, that's why I have to ask, like, how many people are actually tuned into the live stream, because
It's gonna be on YouTube, so there'll be billions of people. They'll be saying, "Holy crap, Gina's awesome!"
And then when they get on YouTube, they're gonna say, all they talked about was that microphone.
it's gonna be 2 hours of complaining
And then later on,
about
All the comments are gonna say, let her have her music. Alright, how do we highlight these things?
30 more minutes. You can survive that long without music.
oh yeah, Ray?
This is
Try
pretty much
it.
all I'm gonna get done.
Without to.
So what are we at time-wise? Okay, so basically you have your gross-looking brown on your plates, hopefully. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take some white, and we're gonna mix that into your brown. Or
With
just
the,
pretty much all your white. Just like take all your white and just mix it all into your brown and make it sort of kind of desaturated looking beige tan looking color
yeah.
with the white and the brown.
Yeah.
It's almost like bleached like leather or sand or something.
I'm a nurse, that looks like, I don't
It looks like very biological, right?
It does. Hazardous is
Oh, we'll call it taupe. How about that?
Oh, okay.
That's a nice friendly word for it. So we got this color, this taupe color. And we're gonna get the smallest, tiniest, finest point brush you have. And we're gonna take some of this color, dip it in some water so that it'll glide on smooth. And you got your branches here. And this is 100% optional, guys. Like, if you don't think this looks good, you can go back over it with, more of your original brown, and my feelings won't be hurt. But what I did is I just I got this color and I started on the outside of the branch and sort of made little inward strokes to make sort of the patterns. So almost like, birch trees have that pattern, sort of stripy pattern. So you want to make it sort of sparse, but it just breaks up that solid color a little bit. And gives it a more sort of natural look. And you can do as much of that or as little of that as you want. Notice how it's not uniform. I'm like really purposely trying not to make it look super uniform, so it's not like perfect zebra stripes or anything like that, or pinstripes. It's more like a natural, randomly occurring pattern that is on your branches. You can do that. Or another thing you can do is you can make it vertical. So, how some trees have that sort of grain that goes, the bark sticks out. You can do that as well. So there's some of you that are like, I don't want to do this step. I don't see the point. And that's totally fine. And, what we're going to do after that is we're going to put some more leaves on your branches. So kind of in the foreground, whereas your green that you did before was in the background, now this is going to be your foreground. You're going to put down some more color. And this is, again, 100% optional. Like at the end of the day, it's your painting, so you're, at complete, artistic liberty here. So like for the foreground, I'm gonna mix in some more yellow and just do some like slightly more leaves on the branches right here. So it might be difficult at this point for some of you to have a nice gap. Remember at the beginning where I said like make sure there's a gap in the middle of your sky because you want room. If you want to paint a bird in flight, you want room for it to show. But if you don't have room for it, like if there's branches covering your sky, but there's still some gaps here, you can kind of paint under the layer. So that it's almost like you're seeing the bird in flight behind the branches, if that makes any sense. What are we at? I'm gonna give about 5 more minutes, and then we're gonna go on to the bird.
Yeah.
You're not? Nobody ever did. Oh yeah. When you look at it later, that's why I like to take pictures when I do it. Who's that painter who used to always do happy trees or these happy trees?
Bob
Bob Ross.
There we go. Golly, you guys won the trivia.
Speaking of which, we don't have an afro tonight.
I think that one of mine might have gotten struck up.
Maybe you're a hater.
Said he got struck by lightning.
No, I think one of my trees got struck.
Oh,
That's how he
Yeah.
did his painting powers.
how do you
he's-
know?
I think he's in heaven now.
That's
He's in heaven.
Oh, Ross is good.
I read about that guy, like, You know, he used to be in the military.
Oh yeah.
I could not picture that guy in the military. Like,
Some
just
red
that
line.
Why do you think he had to paint happy trees?
that was like his therapy, right? I
That's
mean,
why he
just
didn't have
came out
PTSD.
like,
Yeah.
let's just relax.
He loved trees because he missed the jungles with the trees.
Oh. I'm not even really saying. I think he was the one that coined that term, like there's no mistakes in art.
Happy little accidents.
Just happy little accidents. Exactly.
I have the same mentality about cooking.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Well, except for that time that I mistook teaspoon for tablespoon with salt.
I've done
and-
that.
You only did it once.
I was about to say, happened to me 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Teaspoons and tablespoons are not the same thing.
I found that cooking, you can correct yourself most of the time. When it comes to baking, it's like a
Yeah,
precise
baking's-
science. Like you mess one thing up and it's
Yeah, you
done.
just add more sugar.
That was too salty. Just put some mashed potatoes next to it without any salt. You pour enough wine at the table.
I like your philosophy. I'm gonna have to.
If you think the dinner's not great, lots of wine first.
That works for everything.
Actually, it does. You're right. Strong cocktails within dinner.
With the overlay of leaves, what you said you started out with the yellow.
I did. So I got bored and started dabbing yellow onto my canvas, but yeah, you can do whatever color you want. Just make sure it's like a lighter color so it shows up in your foreground. I just did pure yellow for mine because it's gonna blend into the green. But you can do light green, you can do like light teal. You can do whatever you want. But
So now we're gonna put some leaves on top of everything.
yeah, just put like a little bit more leaves on the foreground. That's completely optional, of course. Like, you know, in most of these reference pictures, guys, you don't really see like you can just kind of see the tree trunks are in front of everything because you're looking up at the sky and you're seeing the tree trunks first, and then the leaves are kind of on top. They're like the canopy, you know, against the sky. And in some of these ones where the sky is darker, you don't even see what the color of the leaves are. They just look black because the sky is such a light color. Then in the foreground, your leaves look black. So it's whatever you want it to be. It's more daylight. You see the sunlight through the trees, and the green kind of turns into yellow shades because the light's hitting it. It's very interpretive. So we're gonna move on to the bird because for those of you who would like a bird in your painting, I have a couple of options for you. I'm gonna refill my paint and I will be right back. Oh, and we're gonna need white. So is anybody out of white?
How much white do we need?
Raise your hand if you're out of white. I'll put mine. You already have birds. Like, you don't even need to find instruction. You're like, I have birds. You have a bird nest. Awesome. Okay, so you're good. I don't even need to come by and teach you.
Yeah, what?
I mean, the other bird is cool in the picture.
That's
like
like great. very lush. Thanks for Okay.
Yours is that's like your best painting. It's really great. I see a little bit. Awesome.
You're not doing it. Okay. You're good. You're good. Okay, cool. And where's my palette?
Eugenia, I spy a life mug. Do you know where that came from?
My personal collection. Yeah, so fun fact, guys. I didn't want to use like styrofoam cups or plastic cups to do a Earth Day themed
Oh,
painting
good
class that's
idea.
supposed to be environmentally friendly. So I actually went to Goodwill and I was like, give me all the coffee mugs that you have. They were like 25 cents each. So I was like, you know what? They're going to be used for other things in the future. The edible utensils. Isn't that the best idea?
I don't have it in my bag right now, but I carry a multi-tool with me so that I don't have to use
You don't
those
have
plastic
to.
forks.
I always feel so terrible when I have. I'm like, this is gonna end up in a landfill.
All the time.
It's like, I went to
So what do you do? Do you use your hands? Fingers?
Yeah,
I mean, when I like when
Some
I don't.
cultures do.
Some cultures do that, but I definitely wouldn't want to do that with my hands because I like touch everything. So you know, I use plastic utensils like a normal person when they're there. But when I go to work and stuff, they have like a big cabinet of plastic forks, plastic spoons. I bring like a regular spoon from home, and I just wash it in the sink. And I use that.
Most everything can be eaten with wooden chopsticks too. I think.
That
Chicken
too.
salad, chicken soup, chicken soup.
Yeah. I was even debating with the plastic, the paper plates versus plastic plates. It was like I want to like put my money where my mouth is. If I'm teaching a painting class that's every day, like I don't want to be all wasteful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a paper cup takes 20 years. If it's coated, it takes like 20 years to deteriorate completely in a landfill. A plastic cup takes a million years. So you do what you can. Okay, so I'm gonna graduate to the bird.
That won't be hard to paint at all.
Yeah, that looks really good.
It's really, really easy, guys, because
You're not her favorite.
no, look, these guys are great. Like I've seen I've been looking at all their paintings. All right, they've been doing really well. I'm really surprised at how this has gone. I expected this to go like just so confusing, and I've never taught a painting class before, but these guys they know what they're doing. So I have faith. We're gonna knock out this bird.
It's just acrylic.
I retract my comment, my statement.
We have 15 minutes left. The last 15 minutes of the class is gonna be a bird
Oh
of
yeah, I
prey.
think that's easy.
Completely optional, of course. So there's a couple options, you guys, and I think that everybody basically did the daytime version of this painting. So in my opinion, it makes the most sense to do a hawk. And this is like just two options I picked out because I wasn't sure if people were gonna, go completely off the beaten path and make it nighttime or something in their scenery. And that's why I put this up there. This is a great horned owl, and this is a red-tailed hawk. Both can be found in Texas. They're Texas, birds of prey. This is obviously the nocturnal version. It's really, really hard to find a picture of owl that's like that. Anybody know why?
nighttime birds.
They're nighttime birds, and when they hunt, they hunt really close to the ground. So most of the photos that you see of them caught in the wild, you see them from here. They're like that, and they basically, the way they hunt is fun, random nature, completely unrelated to painting. But I just wanted to, because I researched this. Right? They'll sit in the tree and they'll wait to see if they see any prey, any mice or rabbits or whatever in the grasses, and then they'll just dive on them. They'll sit in the tree. So most of the pictures you'll see of these owls, they're just kind of chilling on a branch, looking down. And then the ones where they are hunting, they just look like a comet. They're like dive bombing the ground because they go in and they just dive bomb the grass to grab this, prey that they see, and then they go back out to the tree. So actually seeing this, like the owl with its wings spread like this, is very uncommon. So
Something else that's cool about birds, there's a pair of bald eagles that are nesting in the Washington, D.C. Arboretum, and they hatched 2 eaglets, and they had webcams on them, so you can watch them 24 hours a day.
like they strapped a GoPro.
No, they have a webcam above the nest, and then one a little bit further away, so you can see, like, looking down on them, and then also from a little bit further away, so you can see when mom or dad brings a fish, and they rip it up, and it's really funny, and
Nature's so impressive. So, but yeah, I'm mainly gonna paint this because the red-tailed hawk, like you'll see it in Texas, you'll see it like all over the place. They're actually ecological competitors to the great horned owl. But obviously they hunt during the day, so they're not direct competitors for the most part. So like in the middle of the day, you'll see this guy just flying around very high up. You work in a corporate building, you work in like on a 10-story floor or something like that, you might see one of these guys. If you sit next to a window, like just in the afternoon, just doing the circle, they like soaring and gliding and just, they look like they're having fun. So you can see a lot of pictures. If you just Google red-tailed hawk, there's a lot of shots of these guys because this is what they like doing. So this is obviously the more natural choice. So we're gonna go with this, and we'll start painting this one now. Oh, so I gave you all white, and hopefully you guys still have a little bit of yellow on your plates. If you don't, let me know or let Raymond know so he can replenish
You
your
don't need yellow?
Here you go, Raymond. Ray.
There's mustard.
Oh.
Use mustard instead of gravity.
I mean, just a tiny dot, because really, it's mostly going to be like the brown that we were using on the trees. So basically, I have this like slight layer of yellow on my plate. I mixed in a tiny bit of red, so I have this sort of orangey color. And then a little bit of white. Yes. And now I have this sort of beige color. And then I'll throw in some of my brown. So I have this sort of medium brown. So we're gonna start by doing the silhouette. We're just gonna do the outline, which is why I tried to like include this, basically this other image in the corner here. It's basically just an image of the black and white.
Can we just do black one?
Absolutely. So basically, when you're looking at one of these guys, it just depends like how the light is hitting. When you're looking up at the sky, you'll notice that everything looks a little bit dark because the sky is so bright that everything in front of you, in comparison, like have you ever stood outside and asked somebody to take a picture of you, and you're facing away from the light, the light is behind you and you're backlit, and when the picture comes out, you're super shadowy. Like all you see is like your outline, and then behind you, it's like a perfect scenery or whatever. And you're like, but I wanted a picture of me. It's the same concept. It's like because everything behind you is so bright. The sun is shining down from here. Here's the sky, everything's blue, here's the green. And then everything in front, in the foreground, is going to look super shadowy and dark. So same concept, but it's your painting, so you can do whatever you want. I'm going to start with this lighter color, and I'm going to start painting the outline. And basically, what I try to give the best interpretation of this silhouette of the hawk. It's got its wing spread. It doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical. You flying at an angle. You're gonna make like a little line just like that. Don't make it too big unless you want it to be all in your face. But in my painting, this guy is kind of soaring, kind of just above the tops of the trees. So his wingspan is going to be about this wide, so everybody can see. So that's the from the tip of his wing to the other tip of his wing. He's got his wings spread out. And then I'm going to do the general shape. It's like one long line, one big long shape, or a length, like a rectangle almost. And then a triangle that's coming out from the bottom for his tail. So I'm going to basically follow that shape and go like that. I'm going to start below the original line I drew and kind of go under it like that. And that's his wings. And then go in the very middle, guys, and draw a line like that. And that's the center of his tail. And then start from the middle of where he drew and go outward, like to the left and outward to the right, and you've got his tail. Easy. So that's your silhouette. And then you're going to draw, you're going to paint just a tiny little, very misshapen triangle in the middle at the top for his head. So you're going to paint that layer in, let it dry a little bit, and then you're going to highlight it with some lighter colors of white, some darker browns, and a little bit of black. You'll see that the lightest part of this guy is down here where you can see kind of the red of his feathers. And then the darkest part is up here where his head is very brown, a little bit darker. So you have your sort of taupe color that we made together. I'm going to add a little bit of black to it to get this grayish color. And then I'll add some red back in to get this very dark gray. It's really desaturated. And if anybody needs help mixing colors, just raise your hand. I'm happy to come over and help you guys individually. So I'm gonna put down my darker color here to sort of outline his head. Notice I'm using my larger brush. I'm just using the fine point of the brush. You guys can use the fine detail brush for this. You probably should, actually. I'm just being lazy. And then he's got sort of some wing tips right here. So how you do that is you take your slightly darker color that you have, just add in as much black as you need. Honestly, this is going to end up being almost a silhouette against the sky, because what I just talked about with the backlight and the foreground being more shadowy. So I'm going to start right here and feather outwards, and just let my brush go lighter as I go outwards. And he's got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little feathers going out from his wing there on either side. not worrying too much about whether it being symmetrical, because you don't necessarily have to be seeing this straight on. It can be at an angle. You know, he can be flying at an angle, so one of his wings looks shorter just because of the perspective. And then he's got a sort of a band of darker colors. You can kind of see the detail. Like each of his little feathers on his wings has this stripe that goes out and sort of ends in a slightly darker band of color towards the bottom of the wing. You can be as detailed or as not detailed as you want. Honestly, yeah, so, like for sorry.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I just said it's so cool.
Oh, thank you. So on his chest, this guy has some little spots, some little streaks of darker feathers. I'm just gonna take my darker gray and just do little spots on this guy. He's got, you know, a beak right here, some parts of his face that make it a little bit darker. And I'm being really interpretive. Like, I'm not trying to go for super fine detail. I'm just making it so that when you're looking at it from super far away, it almost looks like it's a bird, right? So don't worry about being precise. His tail feathers have a little bit of a band.
It's a phoenix.
There's his little body right there. So now you have this guy, and then you can go back with your, mix in some white into your taupe color. So now I have this lighter gray that's almost white. It's just got a little bit of every other color mixed into there. It's like super light. And then I'm going to work on his highlights. So I noticed that because of the way the light is hitting him, the edges of his body, the wings down here, and the tail, it's super light. So I'm going to try to replicate that using the paint. It's basically almost white at this point. And go down here and just add in a little bit more detail. And then maybe I'll do some strips on his chest and his wings. You know what's usually a good idea if you probably, like, at this point it's pretty much 9 o'clock. You've been staring at this painting that you've been doing for the past 2 hours or so. It's good to get up and like go like maybe 5 feet away from it, kind of look at it from a further perspective, kind of look at other different things other people are doing.
The further you walk away from the painting, it seems to get better.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, if the longer you stare at something, like, all you see are the imperfections. And when you walk away from it and you walk back, it's almost like it's like refreshing your brain when it comes to looking at this thing that you've made. It's like if any of you have ever drawn anything, and then you put it away for like a week or so, and then a week later you go back and you look at it, you're like, you see things that you didn't see before. So it's just your brain, the way that it works. It's just the closer you are to something, you kind of see all the flaws. But when you're hanging it up on your wall, and I hope most of you will want to hang this up on your wall afterwards, because all of you have very beautiful paintings, you're going to go back in and look at it and go, oh, this is awesome, you know. And most other people who walk in, they're going to say, oh, that looks great. They won't know everything that went into it. Like, only you will know that. So you kind of have a different perspective on your own work than everybody else does, just as a general rule.
Yay! Thank you, Gina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming to this class. This was the first class I've ever taught, so
You're not a virgin anymore?
I hope you guys at least enjoyed yourselves and got something that you want to
If you feel like
hang up on
it,
your wall.
you don't have to rush out if you're still working on a painting.
Yeah, this
Hey,
is. I mean,
anytime.
it's we said from 7 to 9,
That's good
but
because-
that's just a guideline. You guys are free to keep.
This needs to go away.
What? Awesome.
No, my
You
foot looks
made
like crap.
No, you made a kind of like shadowy silhouette, so that actually makes a lot more sense in terms of like, you know, what looks natural.
I would like to see
Maybe it's a
it.
border.
Yes, but it looks
But it's too bad. It's a little ugly.
you know what?